We're living in a golden age for children's literature. So many different books, different styles for different ages, and so many options for kids to see themselves in the books. A new graphic novel carves out a place for young girls becoming wilderness adventurers in the Adirondack Mountains. The latest by well-known children's book author Maxwell Eaton on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Essex County Arts Council, promoting arts and culture through advocacy and grants to artists and organizations. More at essexcountyarts.org.
Hey, I'm David Summerstein. It's Friday, May 5th. First up, the North Country's lone Democrat in Albany voted for all 10 of the state budget bills this year. But that doesn't mean Assemblyman Billy Jones is thrilled with the spending plan. He says it was the most frustrating of the 7 budgets he's worked on in the legislature.
I don't think anybody's walking away with this with their hands in the air. We were, 32 days late. Had a lot of policy in it, which I'm always a big fan of knocking policy out of a budget.
This year's budget brought further changes to bail reform, giving judges more discretion to set bail. Jones says he's sure further changes will be the subject of future budget talks.
People are saying that we didn't go far enough. I've talked to a few DAs. I've talked to a few of my judges here. They like the measures that were taken. Do they want it back to the way it was before? Probably.
Jones says he's narrowing down his priorities for the rest of the session, which ends in early June. They could include pension reform and changes to the state's retirement law. When people struggle with mental health, they shouldn't have to just deal with it. That's the message students in SUNY Plattsburgh's wellness campaign want to share. They've started a group called #HealWithIt. The group is co-hosting a self-care summit on campus tomorrow that's open to the public. Champlain Valley reporter Kara Chapman has more.
Before she joined #HealWithIt at SUNY Plattsburgh, freshman Ananya Podar thought self-care was just about making yourself feel good emotionally.
But when I joined the campaign, I learned that, mental health is about many things other than emotional wellness.
In fact, there are 7 other pillars of wellness: physical, social, spiritual, intellectual, environmental, vocational, and financial. #HealWithIt's members have spent the semester teaching other groups on campus about those pillars. They've asked the groups to sign a mental health pledge and pose for photos with their hands painted green for mental health awareness. #HealWithIt's efforts culminate in this Saturday's self-care summit, which they've co-organized with the college's event planning class. Senior Amelia Stevens says the goal is to provide people with a structure for how to take care of themselves.
Having all these different events to go to and learn about is going to be something that can be helpful to a lot of people. I know going around to the different clubs, it's been really rewarding to see people actually learn things from what we're saying and not just listen just because they have to.
The summit's offerings range from yoga and meditation to art and dance. There will be therapy dogs, a nature walk, and a portion geared specifically toward kids. The organizers also thought it was important to have a segment focused on race. One of the college's truth, racial healing, and transformation circles will take place during the summit. Podar, who's from India, says she's faced racism and bias as an international student.
You face a lot when you come here initially as an international student, and there are issues where people, they don't accept you easily.
She and fellow freshman Avery Skatina say being in an unwelcoming community makes it hard to pursue wellness.
If we're in a community where people don't support each other, people aren't accepting of each other, it's a lot more difficult to be mentally sound and, have peace of mind.
The Self-Care Summit is free and open to the public. Podar wants people to know that it's for everyone. She says she and Skatina recently went to a church service where 2 women in their 50s and 60s shared their mental health struggles. Hearing their stories brought tears to her eyes.
That's where I learned that, mental health is not only for teenagers and not only for youngsters. It's for everyone, no matter the age. Everybody's dealing with something.
Podar says everyone has the right to be in a good place in their lives and to have access to resources for mental health. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
A new children's book is out this week from Adirondack author Maxwell Eaton III. Eaton's graphic novel is called Survival Scout: Lost in the Mountains, and it's the first in a series of books about a young girl developing her wilderness skills. Eaton's reading from his book this Saturday from 1 to 2 at the Cascade Welcome Center in Lake Placid. He spoke with our Adirondack reporter Emily Russell about the new book and what he hopes readers learn from it.
Our protagonist, Scout, who's maybe a 10-year-old girl, she's competent, she's capable, but she's constantly being thrown in harm's way either by adults or by natural forces. In this one, she's out on a backpacking trip with her brother when he reveals that they've been lost for 3 days and he has no idea where they are and might not even be on the map. And she starts trying to figure things out when he gets scared off by a bear and leaves her out in the wilderness 3 days from nowhere. So she needs to figure out where she is, where home might be, whether she should stay put, whether she should head out. She's got half the camping gear, too, so she needs to figure out a shelter, a way to make water safe to drink, and so on and so on.
You know, I know this is a kid's graphic novel, but I wonder if it's also geared towards adults, because as we know, adults get lost in the woods all the time. So is there an aim towards, also informing parents about, skills that you need to have to be safe in the woods?
Yeah, I hope that seeps in there and they absorb some of this because they are all skills that anybody heading into the Adirondacks or any mountains or anywhere outside of town should know how to deal with. Things like reading a map and how to use a compass. Not everybody knows. It's easy to say, carry a compass, but I can figure out north or south or east or west without a compass. How is this tool going to help me?
So one of your daughter's names is Scout, and a lot of characters in your books are girls. Why is that?
First of all, why not? I think the default was a little boy every time, especially for a book called Survival Scout. I think that's what comes to some people's minds if they had just heard the title. My partner and I are doing our best to raise two tough, strong, confident little people, and if they can see themselves in a book, then that only helps with that effort.
What goes into creating a book like this? Can you sum it up for folks who don't know anyone who's written a book or drawn illustrations for one? What does it take to release something like this?
Well, from beginning to now, it is, first of all, I'll say it's one of my favorite things in the world. And I love every minute of it. But maybe like a backpacking trip, it's a slog too. And it's miserable at times during the process. But when it's all over, you just want to do it again. And you forget all of the misery. I was thinking about this book this morning when I was brainstorming with my editor what this series might be. I think it was in 2019, before the pandemic. I remember signing the book deal in the throes of lockdown thinking, I better get this signed before the world crumbles. At least I could get paid for this book. And then I finished this book, the illustrations, a year and a half ago. And the illustrations, when I'm working on the final artwork, that can take, 2 or 3 months of 16, 18 hours a day, losing your mind illustrating. So it's a labor of love.
What does it feel like to get to this moment?
It is so gratifying, and it is with every book. This book in particular, this was the first graphic novel I'd done in a while. And with a picture book, 32 or 40 pages. It can be very involved depending on what style of illustrating you're doing. But this one is, there's no getting around 144 or 160 pages. You just got to do it. And on top of it, this book feels so personal because it involves all of my interests. It occurred to me how wonderful this book and this series are when I was buying some piece of camping equipment and I realized, this can be a business expense. And when all of your worlds and your favorite things are suddenly all meshed and locked together like that, it's really cool. So I'm so proud of this book. I'm proud of all my books, but I'm really proud of this one. So I love it. And I can't wait for people to read it.
That was author and illustrator Maxwell Eaton III speaking with Emily Russell. Eaton is reading from his new book this Saturday from 1 to 2 at the Cascade Welcome Center in Lake Placid. We have more news all the time and through the weekend at ncpr.org. Music today by I Am Snow Angel of Lake Placid and Patricia Julian of Burlington. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.